Another one down. Didn't I tell you to guide them?
Well, I tried. Best I can do is help this last guy. So tell HQ that this one won't disappoint.
Well. You're definitely gonna have to make sure of that. They aren't happy with those results.
Who are you? Never mind. Now, we discuss the last member of the Trinity of classes. The supports. The team that makes almost every victory possible, but a slight issue arises. In my Survivalists video, which you should go check out, someone clipped this special segment of the video, and I say that in the current state of the game, with the map changes in effect, it's really noticeable how looping isn't a viable strategy anymore. And yes, I stand by that. Mostly. Upon further experiencing dusekkar and the other 3 supports, I now realize that statement doesn't apply to them. But zyalpze, you're inconsistent in your logic, is what I hear some people say. Yes, that statement doesn't apply to them. Why? I'll answer it later, but before that, we have to discuss them at their simplest. In Forsaken, there's currently 4 supports in the game. Elliot, Taff, Builderman, and dusekkar, each specializing in their own category. Elliot is the best healer in the game, providing a 45 HP heal at most. He's a pain in the killer's side when left unsupervised because aside from healing a lot of HP, they can heal more when anyone completes generators. Essentially, let the team do generators means you lose the game. He also has a free get out of jail card, giving him speed 3, but it's locked behind his pizza. So in some instances, I just straight up dunk the pizza down and into the survivor's esophagus because people just can't see my pizza when I throw it down. I understand. It would mess up their chase and loop. Dunking with Taff, however, is even funnier. Taff sets up tripwires and trip mines to be the most annoying nuisance ever known to man. It's hard and nearly impossible to set up during chase because they need time to set up. Dunking would literally mean dropping a bomb at the killer's address free of charge. These have one use and disappear, which means if you let them set up, you lose the game. Similar to Taff, Builderman creates machines that can either slow the killer in a certain radius or heal survivors over time. Kind of a mix between the first two, he can heal and be a pain to deal with if you don't prioritize him. Let him set up and you also lose. But unlike everyone else, dusekkar is a weird one. He can't heal, but he can shield allies. This is useful for parrying hits that would have killed the survivor. He also plays close enough in chases so that he can hit his beam and use his shield, but far enough so he doesn't get locked on by the oncoming killer. If you let him shield, then you can do almost no damage. Paired with healing, then that means you get nothing done as long as he's alive. Basically, you lose.
You're forgetting something, you know.
He's right. Mention the thing. Mention it. Mention it. Mention it.
Fine. Alright, I get it. These characters are meant to set up and get stronger as the game progresses, which makes them very team dependent, as they want their team to stall for them, instead of them stalling for the team. With this, despite looking like the most team-reliant class, looping is their only solo option. Unforgivable and inconsistent on my part, but can you really blame them? Elliot and dusekkar can't use their abilities on themselves, which means no self-healing or self-shielding. Taff and Builderman can't use abilities in chase because it makes them super vulnerable to oncoming attacks. This means, unlike survivalists who can reset their chases with abilities and distractions, and sentinels who can stun their way to victory and protect themselves, supports have no other option but to loop. Sure, they can run to their teammates, but in a game like Forsaken where sentinels dance in corners and survivalists can't help as much as they'd want to, do you really have anyone to run to? What are they meant to do? Run to other supports? They can't. Unless someone jumps in and really commits to preventing their death, there will be no one capable enough to help them.
Zai, your methods are starting to worry us. What exactly are you doing? And besides, what do you mean by there's no one capable enough to help them?
Last man standing. They're now alone. No one to run to. And in this scenario, that becomes literal. They're a class that functions with the team, acting as its core member. Leaving them for last would be subjecting them to a gruesome last struggle. Elliot has only one tool beneath his belt. His last thread of hope would be to use his only rush hour as efficiently as possible and gain as much distance. The lack of teammates means gaining more is impossible, so he will inevitably fall. Half and Builderman suffer the same tragic fate. With the ability to set up machines and traps to delay their demise, using these while in chase would risk too much of their health. Their only hope is if the killer doesn't destroy them, but in due time, it'll be too late. Dusekkar is the weakest of the four, having no immediate chase extenders within his abilities. Using the beam would ultimately put him at risk, as it is noticeable and dodgeable at times. Yet even after attaining the power of the spawn, he is unable to use that to its fullest potential. You were careless, and they paid the price. If that doesn't prove that they're weak in LMS, I can obviously give some more. Even when doing nothing, things can go wrong. Stray projectiles, minions, raging pace, hallucinations, and blood orbs all prevent them from looping in one way or another. It's them and the killer. No teammates, no coordination. Looping no longer becomes a choice. It's the only reason why they've come so far. Colas and looping in tandem can only last for so long. They're the class that was built to break and yet meant to carry.
So they're useless, weak, and pathetic. Clearly they can survive on their own.
But let's give them the recognition they deserve. To put up with such a challenge where a class built around teamwork and coordination is forced to survive on their own. That truly is an amazing feat. Elliot, you were strong. Healing and running were your only real options, but you've saved countless lives from dying. Taff, you were cunning. Making the map into your oyster, where you shone as its pearl. You are the jewel that blinds all who dare. Builderman, you were strategic. Forming the iron fortress that served as a haven where many had felt comfort. Dusekkar, you were brave. Risking your life to prevent the death of others by being near the danger is truly a valiant goal. You may fall, but you will always get up, support the team, and spend the resources for everyone else but yourselves. And when they do get eliminated, they stand and brush it off, because someone has to. Someone has to be the reason why the game didn't end in 3 minutes, and that someone is always, quietly, thanklessly, supports. And yet only 15.26% of players choose to carry that burden on their shoulders. That gut-wrenching moment of pain and sacrifice. I've done my research on Forsaken, and people that play supports are few.
And how can you say that? You can't just, sprout numbers in the air, duh.
I've backed it up myself, did field research, joined lobbies, and started the grueling task of tallying them all. I thought you guys tracked my every move.
Oh, I'm kinda new to this job.
Anyways, the data I've gathered shows that out of 511 players, 27 play Elliot, 32 play Taff, 12 play Builderman, and 7 play Dusekkar. If you're the only support, then you can run to no one when you're in danger. How would you live if you have no one but yourself to rely on? That's what I mean by supports will be the exception. All they can do is hope the killer makes a mistake, pray the team is cooperative, and loop for who knows how long until they can eventually win, or succumb to minor mistakes that can cost them in the long run. Since it's so much easier to live as a sentinel, playing as a support doesn't have as many incentives in solo play, which is proven by the huge gap shown in the data. Going back, supports that win on their own through looping aren't supports at all. They're just people who teach others to be more selfish, since they indirectly say, "Don't worry guys, I can handle this, just don't be stupid and get yourselves killed." They're just skill diffing you with looping since they can't protect themselves, which is a huge problem since they must be both the strongest team player but the weakest solo player. I'm not saying to nerf them to the ground, I'm suggesting that the Sentinels be given a reason to help and make the game more killer-sided, which forces people to play as a team, like it should have been in the first place. A comment from the Survivalist video from Game Ninja XD 5829 says that, sorry to burst your bubble, but have you ever heard of loop chaining? Loop chaining doesn't help in a scenario such as this. It's a tactic where you would switch between loops so that you increase the distance you have between you and the killer, force them to repath, and regain stamina more than once just to reinitiate chase. In essence, it's looping but better. In the timestamp the comment included, it points back to my earlier statement of not a viable strategy. Loop chaining further solidifies my point that looping is a strategy that, although yes, it does work, only promotes selfishness as a team member and a team. More often than not, when down to 2 players, the last one would hide in a corner and wait for the other one to die for LMS, instead of helping said survivor. Alright, I get it. This video might be in shambles and confusing with me saying they aren't supposed to live, they're supposed to loop, they have to rely on teammates. And even I get how it's super confusing. In the first class I discussed, it was my mistake of mentioning that looping isn't a viable strategy for survivalists. Which makes sense, because they can run to other people for help and get the killer to keep chasing them with said help. Relying on only their abilities only resets the chase. Let's be real, slate skin and clone body blocking don't do much for you if the killer also gets most of their stamina back. But for this one, supports can't run to anyone if survivalists can't do anything remotely useful when they're not the ones being chased, and while sentinels just hide and don't protect the team at all. They're forced to play their own cards right. At the cost of what? A few bucks and XP? I refuse to believe that's how the strongest class gets rewarded for supporting the team, especially one that's super dysfunctional. Left to rot at the hands of the killer while the others relax because the support stooped for so long? I genuinely don't see that as fair. The strategy fails in the context of survivalists because they can kind of sustain themselves. They're meant to survive. If they can't do that, what good are they for? Meanwhile, this strategy is required for the supports because no one would help them in chase. It's not inconsistency, it's game design. The game forces the team to coordinate around supports because they are the most important units in the team, which makes it a problem when these sitting ducks get chased around until they make errors and eventually die. The Sentinels aren't exempt from this either. According to Lucas Bergard, let's say guest, you miss your block. There's 2 outcomes. The killer won't bother and ignore you, or you get punished and are now the one chased. Your team won't help. You are a sentinel, you can handle yourself. In all honesty, this isn't a good mindset. Just because they were built with great self-defense doesn't mean they should be left alone because they can be. And just because you're a support, you aren't always going to be given the green light to hide in corners and not help the team with others. You still need to help your team and provide as much assistance as possible, even if the team doesn't see it. The thought of, at least you tried to help them, is enough already to show that you actually think and care about your team. Sometimes it might lie within unforeseeable conditions or unfortunate circumstances. Again, back to the comment. The duality of a sentinel is that if your team is good and everyone does their job well, you're basically unstoppable. So in essence, what am I trying to get at here? Supports are the best units in the game. That's clear from their capabilities and potential. But people playing this class soon realize that this so-called potential is locked behind looping because of incompetent teammates and selective targeting. Killers would pick them as their first choice to kill precisely because of their abilities. Looping is their only option and they're the only exception to everything I've told you. Again, these guys are the healers, protectors, and menders for damage, alleviating any problems and preventing the death of others. But they can't do that to themselves, especially not in chase. So if you have any semblance of sacrifice or teamwork, save supports. From Mystery Bones 1236, supports also suffer from such poor defenders because they're defenseless. They're probably the ones who tip the skills and victory anyway. They just need someone to believe that before the game does it for them. A team willing to put in just as much effort as the supports do, because Forsaken isn't just a solo experience. And I'm not the only one who thinks something has to change. Grabbing a few of the comments from the Sentinels video, there were some interesting ideas to kind of fix Forsaken's selfish situation. A unique idea from Dunde3982 was to raise the rewards for winning, to which I also agree. The more survivors live, the more rewards for survivors. The more survivors killed, the more rewards for killers. I mean, it only makes sense, right? Lower number of players in the lobby must also reduce rewards for survivors, which entices everyone to play and not AFK. Now this isn't prone to AFK farming, but if they can check if someone has moved from their spot in the past 15 to 20 seconds, then that just means they aren't AFK and add them to the pool of survivors that get more rewards. People who don't get added to the pool get negative rewards, especially to the AFK people who get rewards solely by standing still. Another was from Plasma 371, which I'll quote, "Change how rewards are handed out, giving extremely little when alone but more if you help teammates." Almost a similar idea from the one earlier, but this one applies while the game is ongoing. So this part is where I'll just ramble about the changes I'd personally give to these characters. Elliot is completely fine in my opinion. Maybe fix pizza going through the ground and make it more visible. But that's it. Just a bug fix. Builderman. Make them highlighted while building. People don't know if they can run to you or not. Maybe with a yellow glow on them and the building they're constructing. Just a quality of life change in my opinion. Path. Show life limits of several bombs ranging different colors on the mine itself. Since many TAFs can have lots of mines at a time, knowing how long it has left can definitely help the team if they know that they can rely on it. Another quality of life change. For dusekkar, I beg of thee, make dusekkar's shield cut to at least 5 seconds of cooldown if you don't shield someone for longer than 1.25 seconds, and the shield doesn't save them from an attack that kills them. Sometimes, people run to me expecting a shield, and I can't because the killer is barreling towards me too at Mach 10, so the shield gets wasted, I get hit, the teammate does not live either. Another one is to always shield the player with the lower health when there's 2 people close to your cursor. Shielding the wrong person is unfortunate and is quite annoying to deal with, especially when a guest is on a survivor they're trying to protect. Just in case this video has gotten too long, I don't know how fast or slow I'll talk. To summarize, I can't thank this class enough for both their pain and sacrifice. They truly mean a lot to the team, even at the cost of having few self-preservation options on their belts. So that would basically be it for the classes of Forsaken. A true testament to each role and playstyle given to them, discussed in 3 separate videos. Any updates to these characters and I might consider discussing in the future, although I'll be finding other games for a while because I want to explore more of them too. I've personally had fun with this one because I've suffered so much when people can't see the sentries I place down or the mines I tuck behind corners to annoy killers. So this one hit closer to home for me than the other 2. Aside from that, the time I'm making this script, we are already like 80% towards our end goal, which completely blew my mind since I didn't expect it to reach that fast. No, actually a correction. We got to the goal already. So to you, yes, the viewer, thank you so much for watching till the end. And to my subscribers, thank you for being part of this little journey. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're not, why not consider? Join the Discord if you'd like to see more of me, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. This is zyalpze, signing out.